Hello and welcome to Coffee with Carrie. Thank you so much for stopping by today. If you're new, I'm Carrie. I'm a matchmaker, a dating coach. Today, we're in the relationship zone, and I thought I should remind you I am not a marriage counselor. I'm not a doctor or a therapist of any kind. And the topic, if by chance you missed the title, I don't know what the title is going to be because I haven't named it yet, but you do. And it's about predicting whether or not a relationship, a long-term relationship, or a marriage is going to last. And with these 4 signs from within the relationship, you can very often determine whether there will be relationship success. I thought that could be super helpful as far as learning about somebody, getting to know them better. If this is something you're seeing in your dating life, it should certainly send up a huge red flag for you. And if it's something later in a relationship, you may want to reconsider whether this is something that could be fixed or remedied or taken care of in counseling before you commit to somebody in marriage, let's say. And if you are already married, then I think that maybe you can discuss this. There are some tools for fixing it. For now, let's just get to it. That's what's on the agenda. So this is sort of interesting because what I read is that these 4 problems in communication styles can predict with about 90% accuracy whether you're headed down the path to divorce or breaking up with this person. So I thought we could go through all these different types of communication styles, or not really styles, but problems with communication. And if you're experiencing one of these, we can talk about that too. So I guess what I want to explain here is how you communicate is what would determine with very good 90% accuracy whether you are in or headed towards a healthy relationship or whether there is peril and problems ahead in this relationship based on these communication issues. The first problem that people would encounter in their communication styles or something that they find they're experiencing is criticism. They call it toxic criticism. And if you are with somebody who's constantly putting you down, berating you, making fun of you, this is a pretty toxic type of situation to be dealing with. We've all heard people say, we've heard it in our own relationships on occasion where somebody will say, you always do this, or you always do that, or you never this or that. And those are things to be aware of. But when it's toxic, you will know that these people are constantly being criticized as you can never do anything right. You're always screwing this up. If most of the time you're hearing these generalizations and you feel like you can't do anything right because you're constantly being beaten down, berated, belittled, or made to feel completely incompetent or inept by the fact that you're being criticized regularly, this is what I'm talking about under toxic criticism. It's very unhealthy. It requires a whole new reset and/or therapy. We will get to the cures. And in fact, I'm going to make a whole nother episode about the ways that you can try to fix this on your own along with or before you get to therapy. But these are the signs you should be looking for to see whether or not you're in a relationship that's functioning well in its communication style. And we'll get to number 2 right now. Number 2 is defensiveness. And this is actually, in people in general, probably one of my own pet peeves. I'm not a fan of people not owning their own stuff, right? People who brush off responsibility for things that they've done or blame other people or are constantly on the defensive and pushing back against taking blame in any situation. They just won't own their mistakes, their errors. Misunderstandings are never their fault. This is pretty toxic and really annoying. And if that's the person you're with, that you can never win any type of disagreement because they're never going to admit they're wrong. You're always going to be taking the blame for something because they just don't have the ability to be self-aware or vulnerable or even honest with themselves to realize they played a part in whatever the situation was. Then you're probably dealing with somebody who's pretty defensive. I think it's healthy to understand that we don't always have to be right. We don't ever learn anything by being right. And it's kind of interesting when you go a little bit deeper and you ask yourself, what am I defending myself against, really? What do I lose if I say, oh, yeah, I made a mistake, or, oh, I never saw it that way before, or, oh, this person may be trying to tell me something to help me. I'm not being attacked. Somebody's trying to be helpful in this situation. So I think if you are the person who is defensive, to take a look, because there's never anything. We're growing human beings here who are constantly learning if we're doing it right. So to be defensive all the time and not open to learning or better understanding yourself or your partner, you're missing out on an opportunity to grow and be a more actualized human. Try to ask yourself those questions, or have your partner ask themselves the questions. Like, what are you defending yourself against? What do you have against being wrong? Because nobody's always right. Nobody's perfect. Definitely be watching out for a constant defensiveness in your communications with your partner. Number 3 is very frustrating for the other person when you're trying to communicate or resolve an issue or a problem, because what happens is that this person shuts down. They walk away. Their natural inclination is stonewalling, right? They can't have a conversation. They get too worked up. They need to take time, move out of the situation, silent treatment, cold shoulder, these types of things. But if a wall automatically goes up and no conversation, no communication can be had, it's not the most healthy style of communicating, and it should be a red flag for you. And I should point out that there's nothing wrong there's nothing wrong if within a conversation where you're trying to resolve an issue, one person feels like, I need to clear my head, or I need to think about this for a few minutes. And they can communicate this to you, that I just have to sort stuff out. I need 10 minutes, I need an hour, or let me sleep on this, and sets a date to come back and finish this conversation and continue the communication. Nothing wrong with that. But if somebody walks away with no intentions of coming back, whatever gets solved. So people who just automatically throw up that wall and can't deal with the issues at hand is a problem for both themselves in learning and growing to be a better communicator and be in a healthy relationship, but also obviously for the partner. So that one's number 3. And then number 4, the fourth sign that a breakup is probably 90% imminent unless this is dealt with immediately, is contempt within your communication. Contempt it's like sarcasm. It's why I don't like sarcasm, why it's definitely not part of my sense of humor or anything, part of another person's sense of humor that I appreciate, admire, or enjoy. I think, always have thought, that sarcasm is just mean. It's an excuse for saying something mean and being able to say, I'm just kidding. I just have never found it humorous. Sarcasm is one form of contempt, but there are others. It's belittling them, mocking them, making fun of them. It can be personified by rolling your eyes. Making somebody feel inferior is what contempt is about. And it's mean, it's nasty, and if you're on the receiving end of that, it makes you feel like nothing. It's unkind, it's devaluing, and it is the number one, without question, sign that this relationship will not work if somebody's treating you that way. So I would say to you, if you're dating somebody who exhibits this behavior when you're trying to communicate with them, that's what you're getting in return. Huge, huge, huge red flag. Either you're going to counseling to fix this, because why does this person feel that way towards you? Why do they want to make you feel less than you are, less than you can be, less than they are? What is their issue? And in fact, they probably need their own therapy to figure out why they would treat somebody they claim to care about in this manner. Because this doesn't go away. This is a behavior that just simmers, bubbles up again and again, and eventually will destroy the relationship. In fact, contempt is called the number one relationship killer. And then just to set you on the right track as to what will fix these, as I said, the fourth one, contempt, you're not going to be able to fix with your own communication, most likely. That's going to require some intervention or walking away if it's a continuing and ongoing thing you're experiencing with somebody. But a lot of this can be delved into through communication, scheduling time to communicate, expressing the way things that are happening make you feel. Like when you walk away, lock yourself in the other room when I'm trying to have a conversation with you, it makes me feel like you don't care about my feelings or about making this better. Like you don't want to communicate with me to figure out solutions, that we're not on the same team and we're not working toward the same goal. I feel like I've been left alone in that situation and I don't have a partner helping me through this situation to figure out a way around whatever our issue is. And when approaching how to mend these first three situations, it's important that you talk about your feelings, the way that these things make you feel, like in that example. And this is like the things that you hear about and people make fun of with couples therapy, repeating back what you heard the other person say, saying, I need you to understand, or this makes me feel, and then the other person repeats back, what I hear you saying is that you feel this and you need that. But in fact, it is a really healthy way to open up a conversation about what you do feel and what you do need, which is why they do that in therapy. It actually must work because people's relationships become better if they're workable when they do go to couples therapy. I would venture to say, not being a therapist or a couples therapist, that a lot of people's problems stem from people having different attachment styles, that communicating in ways that aren't beneficial to the relationship. So talking about your feelings and your needs is the best way to approach this, I think. And then the other person has to have some degree of empathy, be able to put yourself in those shoes and imagine what that must feel like. You need somebody with empathy. And there are a lot of other ways to approach this to help these relationships, especially if it's someone you've already invested time in. Like if you're dating this person for 2-3 months, then you try to fix it. And if it's not fixable in a reasonable amount of time, you move on because there's plenty of fish in the sea. And obviously your communication styles are not working, or somebody's mental health is not in a place where they can be a healthy communicating partner. But if there's somebody you have committed to already, or you have a family with this person, there are certainly ways to approach these communication issues. And I'm going to make an episode about that. I did take a bunch of notes on this study and talk to some therapist friends and figure out a good starting place if you're going to try to do that on your own before approaching it from a therapy standpoint. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out when that episode goes live. I appreciate you stopping by today. I hope you found that interesting. If you did, please listen to my mom right there. That's my little mommy. And she says that you should give the episode a thumbs up if you enjoyed it or found it useful in some way. And I'd appreciate that too. I'll look forward to seeing you again back here soon. So please hit the ring bell. That way you're notified every time a new episode goes up live and we can do this yet again. Thank you so much. Until next time, have a good one.